Absolutely. Welcome, shifters to the Shift Happens show, where all the shifting happens, whether we shift it or not.
You came in very I could feel the ghost tour vibe still that you went last night. Like here we are on a Thursday instead of our usual Wednesday. And Cari had some extracurricular extraterrestrial, who knows what all she experienced last night. I'm not really sure. She went on a ghost tour in Calgary. So then I actually went downtown Red Deer and saw a local couple that play. They're called River Talk, and they had music on the street market.
That's fun.
So loved it.
Loved it. I mean, that's kind of, I guess we can even use this as sort of something even for this show.
Yeah.
Because today's topic is mental health shifts. Now, we did touch upon it a little bit last episode. If you guys were tuning in and you listened, and we had some really interesting guests that came on and gave us a different perspective of, somebody that was, I don't want to say incapacitated. Like, how do you, like, they're challenged, physically challenged.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what's the word here? Because it's not, you know, so yeah, so it was interesting to see, the different ways that they go about life and what they do, and then how to mentally go about it when you do see someone in a wheelchair going, hey, you can offer help, but don't overdo it, because they
Mhm.
still want to feel capable and do all the things, and they can, like
Yeah, they
they're
have a system
so,
figured out,
yeah,
and they will ask.
they will ask. Yeah, you can ask politely and say, hey, can I help you in any type of way? And if they say no, then you're good. Like, you don't
Yeah,
need to
and don't
overextend
assume.
anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So with that, we thought, because it's still September, and I did a replay for Connected with Cari. I had went to the Northeast Addiction and Mental Holistic Center here in Calgary. I got invited to an open house last year. And, it's just one of those institutes where not a lot of people know about, and it's easily accessible to us. So they're a really great institute where they don't, like, let's say, you go to the doctor and they're like, okay, well, you need medication because of your mental health, whatever state you're in. And they're like, we're going to give you some pills and this is what you're going to do. And let's say you start off that way. But most times and most oftentimes, doctors will not say or give you like the herbal remedies, or they won't give you holistic remedies, or they won't give you meditation remedies. They won't give you those
Alternative.
extracurricular stuff that you can be doing on your own, to help with the continuation of, okay, well, we want to go off of medication at some point, if you can. That's what they strive for. So they go into, like the different programs that they have and everything. And I thought, that was just one thing I wanted to replay, was because it's so important to understand, like, there are so many different avenues to taking care of mental health instead of just going and always getting prescription drugs for it. So unless, really there is no other way, right? So it's not for us to say, oh yeah, it's not a problem. You can just go and do a 12-step program and everything will be okay. No, it's not necessarily that. So so I played that. So if you guys want to have a chance and you want to go back and watch it, it's only about I think it's about 35 minutes of an interview. So it was kind of a shorter one, which was really nice. So it's still up on the Underground Radio C YouTube page, and then it will be on Facebook for, the 30 days or whatever they have, which, that's just, it's so hard now that everything gets deleted after so long. And it's like,
Mm.
I want people to go back and watch things and whatever. And I'm trying to go back and upload videos, and it's just been so difficult. But anyway, so what I wanted to also touch upon is, like you said, we went and did our little extra little activities. And I think that's one thing to mental health that's so important is having support within someone to support you and you to support others, whether it is going and doing things that you love, or like for mine, what I did was it was actually for one of my sister's birthdays. So, and I really believe that giving the gift of time to someone and spending that time together is really important, and that it goes hand in hand with showing how much you care and love for them, and that you want to spend time and you want to make those memories and spend afterlife together, whatever works, all the ghosts and hauntings. So that's all, bits and chops and pieces. So we'll kind of go through things now and touch upon things. And Dina, what do you want to add? And then we'll go into further detail.
Well, right off the hop, too, I want to remind you and I mostly, but that this is a clean cut version. So you're safe to have this playing with your children, your littles. I think it's important that we have these conversations and
Yeah.
make it more open and try and disrupt the negative stigma around mental health, that there's mental wellness is very much a part of a holistic lifestyle. It's not only being physically fit, but
Mhm.
also that we are focusing on how are we doing with our mental health too, and just what does that mean. We hear it thrown around, mental
Yeah.
health, mental wellness, let's talk and that kind of thing, but really what is it? What does it mean? And does it mean something different for different people? And then just to touch a bit on what you mentioned earlier, Cari, I believe that a hybrid approach, the alternative as well as the Western medicine, the sciences, and
Mhm.
the other modalities can really work well together. And we are seeing more of that. People are getting more curious about, because that used to
Yeah.
be even religious teachings were like, that's voodoo, that's evil, that's, we internalized that as a truth. And
Yeah.
I think the more that society is questioning that, we're seeing more multiculturalism. They all bring a different approach as well that's unique and fascinating. And how can we not only culturally coexist, but what can we offer to each other to
Mhm.
enhance our lives and our wellness?
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that approach too, because oftentimes, yeah, there's not enough. I mean, now there's a lot of education out there. What is mental health and what do we do about it and everything. But, growing up, it wasn't even like spoken of
Mm-mm.
or anything. And I think probably as we're nearing our teenagehood, it was more like, I think ADD was like the biggest thing that was probably mostly known everywhere. It was like, oh, they have attention deficit disorder. So, I mean, that can also play hand in hand as well with mental health. But I don't think it was as known as like, okay, well, maybe it's a little bit of attention deficit disorder, but there's also something else that corresponds with that may lead someone into that instead of just putting someone on Ritalin and going, okay, have a nice day. Right. So, over the years, we've kind of, you know, opened up that box going, okay, well, it's not just compartmentalized different things. There's a whole bunch of things that are, intertwined into mental health and going, okay, one thing may lead to another, may lead to another. So now, doctors and holistic doctors can go back and go, okay, what's the beginning of this? What starts, on the way to ADHD or ADD or whatever that we can get beforehand that won't lead to that step and have to be on that medication, whatever, right? So going back to what you said about, what is mental health? We look at it and go, well, we're always exercising or we try and exercise, we're doing our physical activity. So we always try and, work on our muscles and we work on our cardio and work on our heart and all that. So we work on our major organs, we're working on our muscles. But oftentimes we neglect the brain inside, our neurological pathways and what's going on and how do we exercise that.
Mhm.
I had on, a couple years back, I had Barbara Earl on. Life Wide Open is what her business is, and she does a lot of mental health coaching, and we talked a little bit about neuroplasticity and how to do some exercises with your brain, and, it can even go to, the fun little things of like crossword puzzles, and, if you're on LinkedIn, there's fun little puzzles on there that you can put together, or even a regular jigsaw puzzle, as simple as that. But you're basically exercising your brain into doing different activities that you wouldn't normally do. And you're
Mm.
problem solving and puzzle solving and trying to think outside the box and trying to look at something a little bit differently than you would before. So you're mentally shifting as well. So
I like
that was interesting. Yeah.
I also like how you worked shifty into there or shifts into there because it's true. We we are able to find even some simple things we can incorporate into our busy lives. Everybody feels so hectic, like when the heck do I have time for my mental health, or to do anything different? Mental health, I'm exhausted, or I can't
Mhm.
sleep, and there's a multitude of things that can contribute to a lack of mental wellness. But I think the awareness is the first thing. Many
Mhm.
people will just say, I'm exhausted. I'm just tired. I don't have time. Pausing and asking yourself, how important is it to feel more balanced or to feel like you have space to manage if something goes sideways? Like, do you
Mhm.
have that capacity for that? And if not, how much of a priority are you willing to make it? Like
Yeah.
what could you let
Yeah.
go? And when the rubber really hits the road and we have to make a decision about
Mhm.
this or all these other things, pretty soon the most important things become a priority. And then
Yeah.
sadly, it sometimes means, at a very difficult time that you have to make that choice. So, can we do that and be more aware before we hit a crisis point?
Yeah, right? That was one thing that Barbara brought up is the pausing.
Mm,
So when you know you're going into a stressful situation and you know how you react, we kind of touched upon this before last year when we were talking about Thanksgiving and Christmas and stressful situations. Like, oh,
yes.
I'm gonna be in like a room full of people and it's gonna be like people are going to ask me questions and I have to eat all this food and I'm going to be put on the spot and it's your mind is going crazy and you're like yeah. So she's like, just stop, pause, and go, okay, how do we go into say that dinner differently? How do we go in with fresh look, a different attitude, a different, like, go in with fun, like, oh, you get to see your favorite cousin, or you get to do this, and then you get to tell them maybe a whole different story of what's going on in your life now instead of them firing off questions. And ideally, we're not obliged to answer any questions, are
No,
we?
we don't owe anyone
Right.
an explanation of that, of anything.
Right.
We choose. I think that's the big thing is pause and choose.
Hmm. It's like pick your battles is what I say.
Pick your attitude,
Pick your
pick
nose, pick your
your, yeah.
friends, don't pick your friend's nose. As they say.
I have never heard that.
You haven't.
I have no. I am so
Pick
using that now.
your nose, pick your friends, just don't pick your friends' nose. Remember that when you're going
I
to go and
will
choose.
that there, people, there is a life lesson. That is wisdom from Cari right there.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Or the
It's
old.
true. Like, you know, pick your battles. What are you willing to sacrifice? What do you, because if, say, and I always like to use the example of like you're in rush hour going down. Oh, here goes my microphone. Hold on one second. Make sure we can hear everything. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay.
Miss Verizon.
Things are just
Can you hear me
there we go.
now? Can you hear me
Can you
now?
hear me? Can you hear me now?
Hear me now.
Oh no. So when you're going down the good old Deerfoot or
Yeah.
Glenmore or wherever you live with the busiest street ever, how do you go about it? Do you go in with like the craziest attitude and vengeance and anger and you're ready to just cut off anyone and everyone and or you're like just so stressed out that your whole body goes into fight or flight and you're like, "Ugh, just I can't keep doing this," and you just spiral down.
Mhm.
So it's okay, well, number one, do you absolutely need to take that route to work or back and forth wherever you're going? Can you go a different way? Is it absolutely possible to go a different way? So that's the neurotransplicity of like just shifting that mindset of going, okay, well, oh, I want to go this way or I want to go that way, which is actually very healthy for your brain. And your brain
Mm.
loves that. And it's like a mental massage
Yes.
because it's like, ooh, we're going somewhere else today. Like it's a little,
Mhm.
exciting little trip for your brain, which is awesome. And then you yourself get a little bit more excited because you're like, oh, well, maybe I'll try this way and go maybe this way, right? If you can,
Well, and you're more
right?
engaged in that instead of
Yes,
just same and, oh, all of a sudden you showed up somewhere you don't even remember the route. So if you do
like
change it up, you're
autopilot.
more engaged and
Yeah.
you are really growing your brain and exercising it, like you say.
Which is so important,
Not to
right? Because
mention
then,
your emotions, it's like an adventure.
right? Yeah, love adventure. But now let's say you are stuck.
Yeah.
You know, this is the only route that you can go absolutely 100%. You have to go at this time, no matter what. What can you do? Well, find a favorite podcast to listen to. Wonder what that is. Because people are driving home from work right now. So hey guys,
Yeah.
just
Hi.
saying, to pick your friends' nose when you're driving. Well, pick a playlist, or you can listen to again a podcast or something interesting on the radio or through your phone, whatever's going on. Drive safely, of course. But yeah, you can kind of plan it and route it beforehand, and just because okay, well, I'm going to be in the car from this time to this time, and it's going to be bumper to bumper. I'm going to be dealing with idiots on the road that are going to be short tempered, or they're going to be impatient, they're going to whatever. So you're going to have to endure it. But how do you endure it in a more positive way, right? So I love
Well,
just
and give
like,
yourself more time, for
yeah,
one thing.
yeah, more time, breathe, pause before you get into the car and go, okay, let's go. Let's hit the road. Let's throw on some tunes. Let's just crank it up and have some fun,
Well, there's
you
something to
know?
be said for manifesting, and I know this sounds odd when we're talking about driving, but it fits everywhere. And whether we do it with intention or not, we do
Yeah.
create. Like our subconscious is part of creating our reality. And
Yeah.
we can either harness that and do it with intention or just let things roll out as they will. But I
Hmm.
can't believe how many times I've thought to myself, you know what? I can feel anxiety come like, am I going to find this place? Am I going to
Oh, yeah.
get there on time? And what if where am I going to park? And all of this. And usually it involves downtown Calgary or somewhere like that.
Yay,
But
downtown.
I, yeah, I'll just catch myself. So I think that
Uh-huh.
awareness, that pause and go, wait a minute, why am I deciding it's going to be hard? Why am I deciding that this is going to be horrible? I can
Yeah.
just as easily choose to decide that, you know what, there's going to be plenty of time. I'm going to find this easily, and it's going to be parking that's really easy.
Hmm.
And it happens time and time again. Not every time exactly the same way, but I'm
Yeah.
actually expecting it to go easier than if I'm expecting it's going to be horrid.
Right.
Why not? And at
Right.
least I show up with a whole different attitude too, right?
I went to an event downtown. I think it was last month, and I knew that, like, I called it, like, usually when I know there's an event, wherever it may be, but mostly if it's downtown, sometimes I will call and ask the place, is there available parking nearby, or, something close, or what am I going to expect when I go down there? So I called and I was like, okay, what's the parking going to be? So there was like valet parking for like $50. And, usually downtown Calgary, it's about $30 for parking and that. And I'm like, well, what are my options here? And I thought I could drive down, pay it, whatever it is, what it is, or I could Uber down and pay roughly about the same price. And then I thought, I have friends who I can rely on and have fun with in the vehicle while we drive to and from locations.
Perfect.
So, yeah, I had just enlisted a couple people and I said, hey, are you open this day? Would you like to drive me down? And I will do something as a return favor for you for this favor for me. And it was so great. So people, they were in the room and the people for the event, and they were setting up their venue beforehand. And they're like, yeah, I heard them talking about the parking situation, and some people got tickets and all this. And then I'm like it just, you go into the whole thing with that on your mind, right? The
Mhm.
beginning of like the day, it's like, oh, you already got a ticket and your whole day is gone and whatever. And I was like, oh, well, I said, yeah, well, I ended up just getting a ride down because I knew parking could be hard or whatever. And, I just thought it'd be the easiest. And they're like, well, you're so smart. I'm like, that's such a simple way of doing it where
And you didn't even pick their nose on the way.
I didn't pick their nose.
No, that's good.
I could pick the brain. I didn't
Yeah.
pick your nose. So yeah, and
And you
that's
got to
it.
hang out with them. I think
Yeah,
that's good.
which was fun too. So it also engages them in a very healthy mental way, going, oh yeah, like I get to help somebody out and do a little favor for them. And they were also really excited about it. And in fact, in my mind, so it was actually my sister who picked me up, and then she drove me down there, and one of my friends picked me up. So I was like thinking, oh, my sister would take me down the Cloud Trail into downtown Calgary, because that's like just in my brain, that's just how it works. And then we go this other back way, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this way. I'm like, oh, that's so smart. Which we got down there earlier because we beat a lot of the traffic, and there was hardly any traffic the way she went. And I was like, yeah,
Brilliant.
just like, wow,
Your brain just expanded.
you're like crazy, right?
Well,
So
and
that's what
maybe
we
it's a
do.
way to spend time with somebody that you've been like, you know what, we never find a way to hang out, but we could catch up and do
Yeah,
it this way.
right. Exactly.
Get
So
creative.
it's the
I think
back
it's
and
also
forth and the
important
love and yeah.
to recognize like what are the things that create that joy or that connection with people, because people, you actually live longer if you have good relationships as well. And sometimes we think, well, I don't have time for that. Get creative, like what Cari did. Get creative, find a
Yeah.
way to do that together. Maybe you're also feeling like I am not walking enough. Well, is there somebody else as well that you'd like to spend some time with? Maybe they think the same. Maybe you could figure out a way to meet for Zumba class or meet up at a park to walk, or um,
Yeah.
go to the gym the same day or go play pickleball. I don't know, like figure out
Yeah.
there's a lot of creative ways that you can spend some time, or moms that are home with their kids. And it's like, let's like plan the play date or plan a little outing together. Try and be creative that way too.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
allow
Nature is
yourself
really
things.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, nature is really good for your mental health because it just, you're like, oh, you could just clear the air and you forget about everything while you're out doing your walk for a little while, and you can laugh and have fun and trip over things and, laugh at each other, and, it's good, right?
I think one of the
So,
tough things
yeah.
too with mental health is just having those conversations. There's so much negative stigma around it.
Yeah.
And often, I think we hesitate to have those because we're concerned that if the person does need help, like, we feel helpless. We don't know where to turn to help them. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in that position so many times where somebody really is low, they really need your help, and you don't know what to do, and you tend to want to just avoid those conversations. But
Yeah.
I'd rather be curious and dig in and say, well, why? Um, and then ask, like, try and find the resources. That's what I love about the work I do too, is to know who's out there and try and connect people with the resources that can help them, and say, like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? I wonder if this would work. Like, maybe together we can find an answer, because I'm not the expert on
Yeah.
this. And so I'm willing to create that space and listen and
Hmm.
support. Um, but I think sometimes we avoid it because we just want to keep the status quo. Oh, everything's okay. Everything's okay. Right. Um,
Hmm. And when you say that, that's actually probably the worst
Shut
thing
them
to
down.
say. Yeah. They don't feel heard. They're like, well, yeah, okay, sure. Everyone says be happy and read some positive quotes and whatever, but it's not as easy as that,
Yeah.
right? You can watch all the fun Instagram posts on Facebook. You can look at everything happy. You can look at the cat poster just hanging on, oh, hanging in there. All the positive mental health stuff that is like just out there. But it's like that's not you're gonna always help, right?
Well,
Like,
that
yeah,
human
okay, people
connection,
laugh,
I
but
think,
it's deeper,
is,
right?
yeah, the human connection is definitely has more potential to help people and help them feel less alone in it.
Yeah.
I think, you know, there's still so much negative stigma around it that we do feel alone. We don't know how to help or how to relate to that or how to express it. Like, maybe we're feeling something's off, but well, we know somebody who's in worse shape. So we're like, well, maybe I'm just need a nap or something, right? Like, we just brush
Right,
it
yeah.
off, but it can get worse and worse and deeper and deeper.
Mhm. So I think that's kind of the first thing, looking into getting help for yourself or someone, is like we all have our bad days. We're all gonna have an off day. But is this happening more often than not?
Mhm.
Have people approached you more than a few times a week? Going, "Are you okay?" Or, "You seem down," or, sometimes I'll see negative posts on Facebook from people and go, "Okay, yeah, like I can see they're having a hard time with something's bothering them." But when it's quite often, then you're like, "Okay, something really seems to be off and something seems to be wrong." And then, it is kind of nice. People will comment on posts and be like, "Are you okay? And do you need someone to talk to?" Which is great.
Mhm.
But oftentimes too, the person writing it will be like, well, I don't want to bother people about my problems and they don't want to listen. So,
Mhm.
that's kind of, you know, if you maybe are close to that person, you can go, okay, well, you know, should we go and talk to somebody else? That might not be a friend or family because you might be embarrassed to talk about this
Yeah.
you know, or get go to somebody and talk to them, go, okay, is there a counselor or someone else to talk to? Sometimes there's even like just a YouTube video sometimes that can talk about it and they go, oh yeah, maybe I need that kind of help. Sometimes you can't even go that route because you just don't know what to do. But it's often just like seeing the first initial steps of like, okay, the spiral.
Mhm.
They're becoming like they don't want to go anywhere and they used to be this outgoing person and you're like, all of a sudden they just don't want to do anything anymore.
Yeah.
Or like you can see a depression coming, or you can just see like just everything's negative, or it might not even be that, but just something is off, right? This something just doesn't add up, or they aren't putting pieces together, because there's not just like a depression for mental health, there's other issues too, right? So
Well, and under this umbrella as well is suicide. And
yeah.
so I had learned something quite interesting a few years ago, talking about critical incident stress management and
Mm.
how all, like, most of my life, I should say, not all my life, but lot of the misunderstanding that if use the word suicide, or you talk about harming yourself in a conversation with somebody you're concerned about, that you're going to give them the idea. And that is so false. It's like, I'm not going to suggest it. And then all of a sudden, if it happens, it's because I brought it up.
Mm-mm.
They are well aware of those
Thoughts and
those
actions.
feelings, those thoughts, those
Yeah.
actions, and maybe they feel super ashamed of them. They feel like a failure because they're having those thoughts. It scares them that they've had those thoughts. Whatever the result might be of that feeling of wanting to self-harm or to take their
Yeah.
life, um, they need somebody that they feel is willing to go into that dark place with them.
Hmm.
And that might be just to listen and say, are you okay? I'm concerned about you. Have you thought of harming yourself or of ending your life? Or you can say it, and it's not going to
Yeah.
give them an idea. And then if they're like, well, yeah, it's crossed my mind. Okay, how can I help you find help? Like, I'm
Yeah.
here. I can help. Like, I care. I don't
Yeah.
want to
Like
leave you
why
stuck
the
in
why
there.
behind it too. Like, why do you feel that way? Because every feeling is a validation of just something. Something, like I said, we
Mhm.
all go through negative times. We all go through like, a slight depressing moment or whatever. And it's like, okay, we all go through stuff. Like, I'm not saying everyone's life is perfect and it's all going to go hunky dory every single day and traffic's going to be great every single day. And, you know, you're going to get along with everyone every single day and it's just going to be a bowl full of roses. No, it's not. Like, we're going to have days where we feel left out. We're going to have days where we feel like we're not enough. Our bosses complain, or say that our children complain, or our spouses complain, or whatever. And then it's like all of a sudden it builds up, right? So we want to try and catch it before it starts building up. But that build up, it becomes the stress of, say you're a man, okay, you're married, you have children. So you are the breadwinner. You're going to work every single day, and it's a very stressful job. So then you come home, and sometimes the kids are fighting and they're not getting along. They all want everything right now. They want you to sign their homework. They want you to take them and go get, ice cream. They want you to listen to the recorder that they're playing. They want, like, now, 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 now. And then, oh, the wife walks in and, oh dear, like, you forgot to take out the garbage, or, I thought you were supposed to be home earlier. And, so you can see it's already built up just
Yeah.
from the poor guy walking in the door.
Who knows what kind of day he
Um,
had at the office and what the traffic was like. And
right? Did he forget his lunch? Did he have a cold cup of coffee? We don't even know those stressors. And that's just one day out of this guy's life. So you can imagine this on repeat for so long that it's like, hey, you know, I need a break, and or it can turn into like, I really am a failure. Like, I'm never here. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough at work, and I let everyone down. And, my kids are always angry. No one gets along. My wife, I can never please her. All this is happening. And then maybe I just don't need to be here.
yeah,
Right. Then I'm better off,
yeah.
because then everybody will be happier.
Well, and then you
And
throw in
that's such a
some,
simple thought, right?
yeah, you throw in breakdown of some of those relationships. There's a high rate of divorce. People
Yeah.
are dealing with single parenting. They're dealing with the financial stressors. Maybe there's career involved. Maybe they're in that sandwich generation where they have a younger, like a family they're looking after, and responsibility for kids. Even if they're in university, there's still some financial, often, responsibility, or they're living at home. And you have aging parents whose health is deteriorating. Maybe you don't even live near them. Like myself, my dad is far, far from me, and I'm concerned for his health, and how can I support from a distance. So there's a lot of factors that can contribute to a high level of exhaustion and anxiety, and that really impacts our mental wellness. And like you said, yeah, you get to the point, it's like, I can't do enough. I'm not enough. I'm a failure, and what the world doesn't need me anymore. Whatever path it takes you down, and the conclusion that you reach,
Yeah.
it's really it's sad, the high rate of incidence of suicide and depression and anxiety. I'm happy that, you know, people are talking about it more. It's still really difficult to feel helpless and hopeless when there's somebody that you're so concerned about. Your heart is breaking for them,
Right. Yeah.
and you just, like, you don't know how to support them. I, something very important was shared with me that I think listeners will find helpful.
Yeah.
Was a time in my life that I was feeling like I don't know how to help this person. Um, it's somebody very close to me, and a very wise woman, a coach, said to me, "Just remember, you're not that person's only source. You're not their only option." So there's a balance of jumping in and solving
Yeah.
all the time isn't necessarily serving them. Are you just trying to keep a status quo and trying to band-aid and, you know, like smooth it over?
Yeah.
Are there other ways that you can communicate that you care? Like saying, look, you can always come to me. You can always ask. I might not always have the answers. The answer might not always be yes, but I care and I want to know. And I
Yeah.
always want you to ask. And then
Mhm.
we'll try and find some answers together.
Yeah. Yeah. And oftentimes, one of the simplest answers is just them talking. They
Yes.
just need someone to listen to them vent and say what's going on or this or that. That might just be one simple thing. But yeah, there are way more difficult situations that we may not understand. And that's where some people have to go on medication to begin with, because it's something that, neurologically, something isn't going together properly.
Hmm.
And there's something missing that, you know, they can't quite connect the dots inside. So when we kind of might think it's that, then that's where we're going to go, okay, well, maybe we do need to go see a doctor and see if we can go to the doctor together. That
Yes.
person doesn't have to go alone. Try and like not only give that answer, be like, but be helpful.
Hmm.
Say, okay, well, maybe I can try and go with you sometime, or find somebody that can go with them, so they don't feel alone through
Hmm.
that beginning of that journey.
Well, there's
That
a bit
can
of
ideally help
accountability built into that too,
them. Yeah,
because when someone's offering to help you and to go along, then they're more likely to follow through with that as well, because there
true.
is that
Yeah.
little bit of accountability and support. And
It's like a gym
often,
buddy. Let's
yeah,
go together.
exactly, like a gym buddy.
Yeah,
Um, only but for mental fitness.
that's right.
But a lot of times, like you say, the listening part is so important because many times people have an answer or an understanding, or they can have more clarity. It's inside them. But by talking it out and explaining it to somebody else, they start to understand and see it better. And if you aren't always jumping in and trying to be that source for them, that answer, that fixer, it allows them
Yeah.
to be more resourceful, to actually find those things. And they are the best one to find it because they know what feels like the right fit.
Hmm. Yeah. And
But
that's
you can
part of,
definitely support them.
yeah. Yeah. You can definitely be there, be supportive, what's going on. And you can offer. I mean, I know some people that, sometimes they might be just down and they just, hey, want to go and do something. Do you want to
Yeah.
just get out of the house for a couple minutes and whatever, and then that could be good, right? You
That goes
know?
back to what you started with, that change of scenery, take a different
Yeah.
route, mix it up a little bit, disrupt an old pattern, and
Yeah.
then that is healthy in itself.
Yeah. Just chopping that little cord in the head going, okay, well, it's always going to be the same and no one's going to want to do anything and whatever. And, well, you're too busy for me or whatever. And yeah. But hey, no, like, okay, well, I might be busy right now, but after, yeah, let's go do something a little later. Or what day are you free? What would you like to do? Offer to get them to suggest things. because
Mhm.
then they're like starting to think differently. They're going, oh yeah,
That reminds me of a fun little meme where it was like it was a suggestion for guys when if you want to surprise your wife, girlfriend, whatever, with somewhere to go and eat out or a gift or something, it's like make them guess
yeah,
because then
I saw that.
they're going to
That's
give
good.
you an answer that you can act on. And it's like, oh, okay. So maybe have them go, hey, if you could do anything in the next couple hours, like what could we do together? Or you could say, I've got a surprise planned for you this afternoon or tomorrow or on the weekend or
Guess
something like
what it
that.
is.
Can you guess what it is? And whatever they're throwing out are clues to maybe something that either they're like totally freaking out that maybe you planned that,
Yeah.
or it's an idea for something that you could try and do together.
Yeah. I just love that when I saw that floating around. And the one that I saw was the boyfriend asking the girlfriend, because she can never make up her mind where she
Right.
wants to
Yeah.
eat, right? Like, I mean, we all probably have like maybe five different places we just love to go to, right? So to narrow it down, the guy was like, "Oh yeah, hey babe, like I got a surprise for you. I'm taking you to your favorite place."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, this place or this place?" And then, narrows down anyway. It was really good. And I thought, "Oh yeah, that's so clever." Because
Hmm.
then the other person is getting excited, but then it helps you just go, "Okay, this is so easy.
Yeah. And it can
We're
be. It
going
can
here."
be easier. I like that. I do want to fit in something that I bring up quite often, and people have heard it again, but it bears repeating, is the
Yeah,
vulnerability hangover. And that
yeah,
vulnerability that we feel, that awkwardness when we do have these kind of conversations about those, the awkward topics or dark thoughts maybe we've had, or our mental struggles, mental health struggles, it
yeah,
can it can lead to a real awkwardness, and you think like, oh my god, what does that person think of me now? Or if you're on the other side, you sense that they're drawing away, they're pulling away, and they're kind of avoiding you. Well, it might be because they feel really awkward and uncomfortable, or maybe embarrassed about what they shared. And so if you can acknowledge that and just say, hey, you might be feeling a little awkward or
awkward.
embarrassed or whatever, like, you don't have to feel that way. It's okay. I just want you to know that I realize, like, you might feel that way. So I
Yeah,
want to thank you for sharing it with me. I believe you. What you told me is safe with me. And I'm here if you want to talk about it again. And if you need help finding some resources, we'll do it together. I'm here to help, you know,
yeah,
I'll help you look.
yeah,
And I think, and then just go back to doing what you're doing. So they are assured that it didn't destroy or
the
change
relationship
the
or yeah.
relationship in a really tough way, and that
Hmm.
you appreciate, you believe, like, you're going to help them, no
Yeah.
judgment. It's thanks for trusting me with that.
I love that you brought that up, because I think that's so important to acknowledge, like as they say, the elephant in the room, because oftentimes, yeah, like say someone gets really, really super drunk, and maybe it's just not them, but something happened where they got so drunk and maybe they said something, or they ended up, oh, losing a shirt, whatever the situation. But it got really embarrassing. And then you see them and, you're like, oh, here's your shirt back. Like, okay. And then they're like, oh, and they feel really bad and they feel really awkward that they were not the person maybe that you see at work every day, right? Like just something awkward. But yeah, you can say, hey, like, okay, yeah, it happens. Everyone goes down that, whatever. But next time, keep a shirt on. Like,
Well,
more
I,
professional,
I
but
spoke at
yeah,
an event almost 2 weeks ago, and it was a mental wellness and suicide prevention uh,
nice.
fundraiser. It was a walk, and I learned something. There was a guest speaker as well as myself, and he shared about having attempted suicide and then talking to people about it. And
Mhm.
um, actually, prior to that, he had already started talking to people, I believe, around depression and how serious that is, and building a lot of awareness because he'd sought help for that. But then he realized that he was still putting on this mask that things were okay and things were fine. And and just really still feeling in that dark space. And he ended up attempting suicide, even though he was doing the work. And but still there was a little bit of, there was, well, obviously a lot of
Yeah.
denial around what he was experiencing. And then my talk, I took a little different angle, and I said, sometimes the missing piece isn't another serious talk. It's maybe humor, and how, calling out that elephant in the room,
Yeah.
talking about it, and how, not once but twice, our family, like I lost a brother, and or if somebody's facing an illness, or a serious disease or something like that, everybody tends to get super serious. And we're humans though.
Mhm.
So it can feel very inappropriate to smile or to laugh, but it's okay. In fact, it's more than okay. It's actually important. It's part of the healing process. So, I talked about how it isn't, we're not avoiding, we're trying to offer some relief. We're
Yeah.
not in denial around it. It's part of the healing process.
Mhm.
And sometimes that humor is what will crack open that darkness just enough for some hope to slip in, and
Yeah.
offer people a little bit of, like, oh yeah, that's right. Life can have joy in it. Because
Yeah.
I remember how much it meant to our family when people would um, share some stories about my brothers, like not be afraid to say their names. It's not going to remind us they're gone, right? Like,
No.
share a funny story, Sherry. Maybe there was something
Yeah.
really embarrassing, right? Maybe they lost their shirt. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but
Don't put this
some of
out
that
there.
can really um, just allow people some space. Ooh, it's just like, okay, yes, that's right. Like,
Yeah.
and even during the years that I was in an abusive situation, it was laughing with my friends that remind me, like, oh yeah, that's right. Life can be fun. Um,
Yep.
and so,
Laughing
yeah,
now about the situation is even better too, right?
yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, like you could think, yeah, because it's the same year, right? We both went through a similar situation, but
Mhm.
I can think back to times and I'm just like, I can shake my head and go, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, thinking back, when you're in the thick of it, especially that, like, I mean, the abuse part, you are so gaslit, you're in survival
Yeah.
mode. You are being told about an alternate reality than what you think, and you're just not in that space. But now you look back and you go, I what? I believed that? Or
You're like, really? I
what?
didn't. You're just not the same person anymore, and you're like, "Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
even know that," and I think it's interesting, like, how blinded someone can get, and,
Mhm.
truth just passes us by, and but again, it's like the awareness of just everything around us.
Yeah.
So mental health is that, what's the awareness around you? What is happening around you, Even, like, you know going through those situations of abuse and things like that gives you, I don't know, like, even though it was a horrible situation, but at the same time you learn so much from it, and you're like, okay, why did that happen, or this, and you can dig a little bit deeper into it, to the point of like, okay, you almost pinpoint some parts through your life of like, oh, I see what happened there, and I see what happened there, and whatever. But when you're young and naive, you don't know, and you're like, oh, okay, so now it's like you can almost prevent it from happening to somebody else, and go, okay, yeah, I see that you're in a new relationship, there may be a couple red flags there, we just want to let you know we're concerned. you know People are blinded when you're in love or whatever, and the new feelings and this and that and whatever, right? But pull them away from the situation and show them the things and go, okay, this is what you might want to look for and whatever. And, you know, yeah, it's just one of those things you learn. But sometimes going through that situation is the hardest part, but we have to learn that way, unfortunately.
Well,
So, but
sometimes
it
it
gives
helps
us a
even.
way to look differently at things now, right?
Yeah. I find it helps sometimes to say, you know what? How did that make you feel? Like, if, like, that made, when they said that to you, that didn't sound like a joke. Like, that sounded really hurtful. I don't know. How did that land for you? Did that,
Yeah.
or, just to reflect that this is how it made me feel. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Or, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
That
Which
felt
is good.
insulting or yeah.
I could never talk about my feelings or bring that up or, express too much or wanna go into their feelings sort of a thing.
Mhm.
It wasn't like it was taboo, it was uncomfortable, and I was always in the wrong. I always had to be a certain way.
Yeah, exactly.
Things were
I
okay
mean, as
all
a
the time.
friend, as a concerned family member or friend, to
Yeah.
ask the person that you're concerned about and just
Yeah.
say, if you've witnessed something and say, "Man, are you okay?" Like that
Yeah.
that would have really hurt if they'd have
Yeah.
said that to me, or
Yeah.
as a way to open that conversation
Yeah.
sometimes because it's become such a habit, and they're in this survival mode and they just don't
But
know what
see,
to believe.
you talk about this now, whereas before, like, I don't even think I could even comprehend even asking somebody else that at the time,
Right. Yeah.
going through that, because I couldn't
Yeah.
even communicate for my own. So now that's why, like, it's so important to see these things beforehand and try and catch them and go, okay, because mentally, it's not gonna do you any good yourself or anyone else around you.
So many
So
people think that they're losing their mind when they're in that situation. They think they're the one that's going crazy because there is that crazy making. And
mhm.
so they think that
Or
that
they've
their
been told
mental
they're
health
crazy.
is, or they've been told they're crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, maybe I am, and so they really struggle to
Yeah.
accept what they know in their heart is true.
Yeah. So those around you, if you know people in relationships or are with somebody, whatever the situation is, it can even happen at work. Like it could be a
Mhm.
different type of a relationship that way and whatever, but keep an eye on people. See what's
Yeah.
going on, see what's happening. Because often it doesn't happen overnight, but changes happen. And
Mhm.
they like I said, people will withdraw, they won't wanna go out, they won't wanna do things, and, like, if you notice something is off and you're like, "Hmm," maybe watch it for a little bit and then go, "Hey, like, something happened at home or something change or you just don't you're a little off today. Are you okay?" You know, Oftentimes I know we get busy with our own stuff. Maybe you're at work every single day and you have your own things to do, but when you know people around you and you're aware of them and how they kind of act and whatever, then you can kind of go, hey, like I noticed, was Glenmore traffic that stressful today, or
Yeah.
we have a fight this morning. What's going on, right? So those are, just the little tiny things to just kind of notice. Like I know sometimes we notice that people are off. Like sometimes I know like how you like behave or I like sometimes if Gina messages me and it's not the same and I'm like, who are you? And
Sometimes a little act of kindness
yeah,
will break the ice too. And I mean, I've done like you'll do a nice little thing, grab somebody a coffee or
yeah.
um, compliment them on something, whatever it might be, and they'll just start crying. And you're like, "Are
I
you
didn't
okay?"
know the flowers made you cry, but
Yeah. And they just
yeah,
they needed that bit of
love.
that I see you.
Yeah.
You matter.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, go and surprise someone today. It doesn't have to be, it could just be something cool. Like you said, it could be
Or
someone's
throw
favorite
them a
coffee or
text.
whatever, or send them a text. Yeah. I actually got a text this week from one of our girlfriends and she's like, hey, just thinking about you, how you doing, whatever. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's so sweet. And you know what? Then I was like thinking about somebody else. And then I sent her a message going, hey, I'm thinking about you and hope everything's okay. And she's going through a rough time. And I'm like, hey, I just want to check on you. How are you doing? And I thought it was so nice to receive that I wanted to give it to somebody else.
And
So
that's the beautiful ripple effect of this.
yeah, it is. So when you can see someone going down the rabbit hole or they're just spiraling or whatever, but to see an end result that they're so happy and everything's
Yeah.
changing and if you're along that journey, not saying you have to be, but just offer help in some type of a way, it might change something.
something that crossed my mind when you were talking about traffic, and I heard this one time from a manifestation and empath type coach. And I
Mhm.
thought, what a cool practice. And it's so easy. And it puts my mind and whole vibe in a different place. Is just think of all those other drivers that are out on the road and just send love.
Yes.
Just like, hey, like they aren't gonna know what hit them, but you'll just be like, you know what, you're a human, you're dealing with your stuff. Just send out care
Yeah.
or recognition or like just a
And a
just
nice
love,
little wave
just
when someone
something
lets you in.
positive.
Yeah.
Just think, and then when you send that out, and it puts you in the mindset of these are other humans. We're not in this competition. It's the human race. Doesn't mean it's actually a competition to, be the best human, as far as the fastest and get there with, be aggressive. So how can we coexist and recognize that, I don't know what's happening in their life. I
Yeah,
don't
you
know what's
don't.
happening in the next person. They don't know what's happening in mine. Let's just assume that they could use a little extra love and let's just send it out there. And it's going to make you act
Mhm.
differently and show up differently too.
Yeah, and have some more patience, and
Mhm.
I always say throw on some good music, put some windows down if you can, and just pump and jam. People are gonna look at you, and they're gonna laugh and or join you, right?
Yep.
That's what I say. I mean, why not? Like, just,
Yeah.
because you're stuck, literally, you're in traffic, there's nowhere else to go. I mean, why not? Like, pass the time really good and have some fun with it, make someone else smile and, or even just like wave someone next door and,
Randomly, yeah.
and just like make a funny face or something. Who knows, whatever.
Pick your
I
nose.
always I love like the dogs in other people's
Oh
cars and
yeah.
they're like staring out and they're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness, doggo. I'm like,
Exactly. They're the
curious.
best.
Like they're not stressing. Look at
Yeah,
them.
they're
They're just hanging
excited.
out the window. They're like, this is great. Look at all the
Happy.
people. I'm getting
High
all
on
this
life.
attention.
I'm going to the dog park. I'm going to the dog park. I'm going to the dog park. I'm going to the dog park.
Exactly. So, take your friend for a little dog park walk
Yeah.
and you're good. Dogs are great. I do actually have to say that is one really great, good mental health, you know, detoxes.
It's
Go,
true.
go like do puppy yoga. I did that last year. It was so fun.
Oh,
Um, go and like help out at like
Humane
foster a dog
Society? Yeah.
or the society, go and like that kind of stuff too. Cause like, oh my goodness, you're just like unconditional love from all these doggos, or you can even volunteer. You have to sign up and do a police check, but you can go to like hospitals and you can hold the babies and help out that way because that's a good like endorphin. Like it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
right. Smell the babies.
Yeah.
I
Go
need to go
smell
hold the baby.
baby.
Excuse me. But those are things you can do also together with someone so that they do feel
Seniors' homes,
important.
go play cards with them or listen to their
Oh
stories. I used
yeah,
to do that in high school. The hospital was right next door to the high school, and I would just take my lunch over at
yeah.
noon and just sit and visit, and the stories they had, the older people, like, so
You
fun.
think you're losing your marbles? You go hear those stories. Right? All the
Yep.
good things. But see, we can laugh and we can joke about it, but at the same time, we know this is a very serious topic. So I guess we'll close out, but we do want to say, you know, get help when you can. If you need help, there's a lot of resources out there that you can absolutely just even call a friend and they can help you out. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I know it's embarrassing and you're vulnerable and you don't think anyone wants to listen, but people do. People care. People love you. We love you.
Yes.
So there's always that we send you hugs. Put it
Yes.
out there
If no
and
one
love.
else tells you today, like Mel
Send
Robbins
some
says.
love out there. See? So yeah, absolutely. Dina, any closing remarks from you?
We are excited that the next episode, we're going to dig into some cultural shifts, and we're going to be into October by then. We'll be just past, I believe it's Yom Kippur, and getting close to our Thanksgiving, as well as there's some other events as well in October. And so we want to acknowledge that different cultures have different ways of celebrating, and it's all fascinatingly human and has history behind it. And let's see our similarities instead of our differences. And so we want to dig into that. So
Absolutely.
join
That
us
sounds
on
great.
the 8th, I believe it is.
The 8th, October 8th, and then we'll be also back on the 22nd for another show. So make sure you guys tune in for all our fun. If you guys have any questions, you need to reach out to us. Feel free to comment below on these videos. We'll be happy to help you in any way we can. If you need any resources as well, I'm sure like we can also put something in there maybe and figure that out. But yes, my last video on Connected with Cari was with the Northeast Addiction and Mental Holistic Center. So there's a great resource there as well if you need help right away. Yeah. So with that, we will close out. We will see you shifty shifters on the next The Shift Happens show on October 8th. We'll see you guys then. Bye.
Bye.